these Instagram headline posts that explain exactly why Malcolm X had to be removed in 1965. 1964, Malcolm X visits Gaza. He also publishes Zionist Logic. 1965, he calls Zionism colonialism. And then he's assassinated. They buried this part of his legacy. Let's bring it back. Let's. Malcolm X warned, Zionist power in America pressures politicians. Support, this is 1964, remind you. Zionist power in America pressures politicians. Support for Israel isn't about morality. It's about money, influence, and propaganda. Malcolm X was absolutely right, but Martin Luther King Jr. strongly disagreed. Interesting. Contrary to Malcolm X, MLK was a Zionist puppet who defended the deep state. MLK said Israel must exist and has the right to exist, and one is the great outpost of democracy in the world. Interesting. Today, Malcolm X's words hit harder than ever. If you're not careful, the media will have you hating the oppressed and loving the oppressors. Look at the media narratives, look at the headlines. Look at Gaza and the starving Palestinians. Look at the Israeli colony. In 1964, Malcolm X said, the Palestinian people are the true Semites. Uh-oh. Zionists have taken their land under the false claim of fighting anti-Semitism. The Zionist argument to justify Israel is one of the most dishonest ever invented. In July of 64, Malcolm X traveled to Gaza. He met Palestinian refugees who had been expelled in 1948 during the Nakba. And he told reporters, the Palestinian struggle is the same as the struggle of the oppressed people everywhere. That same year, he published Zionist Logic in the Egyptian Gazette. He wrote, Zionism is a new form of colonialism disguised as a humanitarian movement. Malcolm said the media painted Palestinians as aggressors, but the reality, they were resisting ethnic cleansing. Malcolm X wrote, Israeli Zionists are convinced they have successfully camouflaged their new kind of colonialism. He said Zionism disguised itself as a religious movement when it was really a political land grab. Did not Israel use the term refugee to camouflage their own aggression against the Arabs? They forced the Arab to leave his home, then used his absence to justify the taking of his property. That's 1964. Fast forward to today. Groups like the ADL label criticism of Israel as anti-Semitism. Greenblatt. Malcolm saw this tactic 60 years ago. He exposed it before it became mainstream, and they hated him for exposing them. MLK was obeying his Zionist bosses. He relied on donors and media approval. But Malcolm X exposed them. He answered to no institution, no donors, no gatekeepers. That's why his words were more dangerous to Zionist powers. Malcolm called out Zionism. MLK defended Zionism until he didn't. Malcolm X warned, the number one weapon of imperialism is divide and conquer. The same playbook used to pit black versus white, Christianity versus Islam, left versus right. Malcolm X didn't see oppression as local. He saw it as global. He said Black Americans were not just as an oppressed minority in the US, but part of the oppressed masses of people all over the world fighting the same oppressors. To him, the struggle was never just racial.
Nope.
February of 65, Malcolm was assassinated in New York. He was 39 years old. The FBI, NYPD, and shadowy forces were all tied to surveillance and infiltration of his movement. After his death, mainstream history books told you Malcolm X was only about race in America, but they covered up his anti-Zionist stance. They covered up his precise observations about Zionism's influence in America and in the world. They killed the man by making sure a black man killed Malcolm. They got rid of him and continued scheming in secret. But they couldn't kill the message. The struggle against colonialism and Zionism is one. Same struggle, same oppressors. What I can't share, I send to my list. Be informed, stay free.
Now, I think that it is an interesting point to make that Malcolm X was a Muslim and MLK was a Christian. Mm-hmm. And what that may or may not have had any impact, I don't know. But what kills Malcolm X is Zionism, and what kills MLK is capitalism. But they're basically arms of the same system of oppression and supremacy. It's the same difference. Capitalism, right, is a narcissistic economic system. Fascism is a narcissistic government system, right? It's the same concept. It's authoritarianism. It's the same thing. And Zionism is white supremacy.
Amen. And so we bring the conversation full circle with a quick clip that I want to play from friend of the show, Sean Morrow of More Perfect Union. When you think about the surveillance state and Zionism forming one universal alliance, there is no one more powerful, more psychopathic, and guilty of crimes against humanity than Alex Karp and Palantir.
On American cities by ICE is being powered by Palantir. It could soon be unleashed on you. These government contracts, some job listings I found, and other official documents show what Palantir's tech covers and where it could go from here. Palantir built something literally called Immigration OS for ICE. And now new reporting from 404 Media reveals a Palantir-powered app called Elite that ICE can use to locate targets by, quote, pulling data from all kinds of sources, including Health and Human Services, CLEAR, and USCIS, to provide a photo, address, and confidence score on that location in an app that looks like Google Maps. 404 called it the clearest link between the street-level actions of federal officers in American cities and Palantir. DOGE created huge gaps in government infrastructure, leaving lots of room for Palantir to worm their way in, like fully operational mapping of IRS data, management of data for Ginnie Mae, the federal mortgage loan operator, a provider directory for Medicare and Medicaid, and a program investigating alleged fraud among nutrition assistance recipients using existing USDA data sources. And that fraud bit is important. Alleged fraud in government assistance programs is what gave the Department of Homeland Security supposed justification to invade Minnesota. But it's not just fraud or undocumented people that ICE is surveilling. It's also people who criticize them online.
Who would have thought?
I am very thankful that I am not on social media. I appreciate that. I do not have any of those apps on my phone. I want no part of any of that.
Well, I guess if they come for anybody, they're coming for me simply because I'm still on the grid and you're not.
Last year, ICE published a document seeking contractors for threat mitigation and monitoring services, saying that there's been an increase of threats to ICE leadership on social media. They sought a system that would monitor and analyze these social media sites for sentiment about ICE and provide lists of negative references to ICE found on social media. Months later, several contracts with very similar language were given to a few companies: Barbaricum, Guidehouse, and Amavera, but none of these are Palantir. But Guidehouse has a major partnership with Palantir. Barbaricum and Amavero both list proficiency with Palantir platforms in various job listings. That means that while Palantir didn't build the system for social media tracking itself, the Palantir systems built for ICE will likely be used to pull this data into the general ICE case management system. And consider how DHS leadership defines a threat. Filming agents, driving near agents, hateful rhetoric, and really any dissent. Palantir co-founder Alex Karp considers, quote, a progressive ideology called woke to be the greatest risk to the United States. I don't know how I'm saying this when people are literally being shot in the streets, but with a blank check to go after fraud and threats and access to taxpayer data, USDA data, mortgage data, and everything online, I think this could get a whole lot worse.
So I see people are telling me that like YouTube is social media. I guess, I mean, we put out content, but I just mean like, I don't spend time during the day when I'm not sitting here doing this, communicating with people on a social media.
Yeah, I don't do it either. That's why, I mean, listen, is it to maybe to some extent a detriment to our channel that we don't live on social media every day? We're not always churning out content. We're not always involved in stuff. Maybe, but you know what? It's a soul-sucking existence to just be in this 24/7. And, I compare it to when I went to the racetrack, when I first went there when I was young with my grandfather. And then next time I went back was like 6 months later. And even as a kid, I could recognize the same people were at the racetrack when I was there the last time.
Can you take down the crazy guy? Can you take him down?
I just want to remind people of who the real enemy is.
We know who he is, and he's on so many different cocktails of whatever he's on. He is just
nutcase.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's the same thing on social media. It's the same thing on these apps. And that's why, and the last thing I want to bring up is this. ICE is spending $8 million on deals with pro-ICE influencers to push its propaganda online. Is there any doubt that when you see the likes of Tim Pool and Megyn Kelly licking the boots of ICE, isn't there a good chance that they're probably getting paid to do that?
I'd say it's very likely.
I mean,
oh, you're going to read the article? Okay.
It's quick. According to an internal document obtained by the Washington Post, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, is carving out $8 million from its $100 million one-year wartime. Doesn't that sound like Civil War to you? Wartime recruitment strategy on deals with pro-ICE influencers. The document calls for spending at least $8 million on deals with online influencers whose followers are largely Gen Z and millennials, and who were in the military families, fitness, and tactical lifestyle enthusiast communities.
Basically, first-person video game players, right? Weekend warriors, commandos, wannabes, losers, incels.
Officials will focus on former agents, veterans, and pro-ICE creators who will be expected to host live streams, attend events, and post short and long-form videos and other content to Facebook, Instagram, Rumble, X, and YouTube. Blogs, Substack newsletters, and threads across accounts would be also to be targeted for more niche communities per the document. The objective, according to the document, is to build trust through authentic peer-to-peer messaging and to normalize and humanize careers at ICE through storytelling and lived experiences. The document says it expects to more than 5,000 applicants will come through the influencer program, costing ICE about $1,500 per application.
I almost feel like doing it just to be how that one woman went in and signed up to be in ICE and got through the whole thing. Like, I almost would be curious to see how far we could get signing up to be ICE influencers. How long it would take them. I mean, if you could go work for ICE without any background check, how much work and effort do you think they put into checking the influencers?